Who dat? Who dat gonna beat them Saints? Well, now that Drew Brees is gone, there's a lot more questions. And that's what we're here to do. We're going to go ahead, break down the roster, do a bit of a deep dive. And then I'm going to give you my projected starters for the New Orleans Saints. And then a prediction of how they will fare in the 2021 NFL season. What's crack-a-lacking? It's your boy Baroshmo. Just in case you did not know, so you should be viewing this on a Friday. And this is when I come back from camping. But I recorded this on Sunday just to make sure y'all get some videos out. I don't think there's really any significant free agent moves that could be made between now and, well, I guess from Sunday to Friday. That will really change my predictions for when it comes to the Saints. But if there is, just understand when I was recording this. I just wanted to be sure to get y'all that content because I try to get y'all content daily. And that's why you should go ahead, click that beautiful red subscribe button, become a bro and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up if you appreciate the content. I work really hard on it. I do lots and lots of research. But let's go ahead. Let's dive in. Let's take a look at this roster because obviously the oh wow, I started it just on. You know what? This is fine. I'm cool with us starting here. Normally I do a face cam. You get a good look at my pretty little face, like. But it is what it is. I already started recording. Let's get into this. So with the offense, yes, I think this offense is going to look a bit different because Drew Brees is under center. But the Saints might have they might have the best coaching room in all of football, from Sean Payton, even like Dennis Allen on defense, Pete Carmichael there helping out with Sean Payton on the offensive side, even going to their positional coaches. There's a reason why the Saints normally have a very unpredictable offense, and they run a variety of just different things, even defensively. Like mainly they're running like zone coverage, but you never know truly what they're running. It's very complex. It is wild. This is one of the best coached, I think, just coaching organizations in all of football. With that being said, it all revolves around what they're going to get at the quarterback position because, offensively, it really depends on who's the quarterback. When Taysom Hill's in, it's going to look vastly different from when you got Jameis Winston on the field. With Hill, I think, yes, there's going to be a lot more designed quarterback runs. Obviously, Sean Payton, he wasn't afraid to put Hill under center, but he was mainly operating out of the shotgun. And even, you don't want him passing deep. We've seen what it looks like when Hill passes deep. It ain't pretty. Sometimes it got the job done sometimes, but it wasn't pretty. The vertical passing game is going to go through Jameis Winston. You're just going to hope that LASIK he had won't, it'll stop him from throwing 30 interceptions. It just happens to be the case. I think probably the weakest part on this offense, though, assuming that the combination, or maybe one, if not Hill or Winston, assuming that they got a quality quarterback between the two. I'm not even going to discuss Ian Book. You know, Saints fans, that was a terrible pick, by the way. But they're not working with a lot of playmakers. Alvin Kamara, wonderful playmaker. But Michael Thomas, he was beat up last year. And then it's really who else do they have there? Traquan Smith was supposed to be this big bodied vertical slot option, and he's had his moments, but a lot of times he just disappears. Marquez Callaway, we're going to find out a bit more about him, I assume, this season out of Tennessee. Even Deontay Harris, he's more of an undersized vertical threat. I've heard a lot of good things from Saints fans about Jawan Johnson. Little Jordan Humphrey's more of a special teams guy that gets involved in the passing game there. But yeah, really, outside of Michael Thomas, they don't have a solid threat. An interesting name I want to bring up, a guy that I was high on. It's not Aesop Winston Jr. It's not the cat from Washington State. It's Kawan Baker, man. I got on this guy relatively late during the draft process because just of his pro day. Going back and looking at him, And because I also watched a lot of Jalen Tolbert last year out of South, these guys played at South Alabama. Kwame Baker, or Kawan Baker, he was basically the big bodied vertical slot in South Alabama's offense, which I was like, okay, maybe they bring him in, maybe a guy to challenge Traquan Smith. He's actually in minicamp. He was working as the Z receiver, working on the outside. So I think he's an interesting name to watch, especially during training camp. A guy that I think will make the roster, will be like the 4th receiver on the depth chart. But just watch out for him. But for the most part, this team doesn't have any proven playmakers outside of Michael Thomas at receiver. I really think at tight end, Adam Troutman's going to get the start. I think he ended up being my top tight end going into the 2020 draft. Very solid player with some playmaking potential. And we saw that bits and pieces last year. And I think he's going to get a start over Nick Vannett, who's more of the savvy vet they got on the squad. Another interesting name to kind of throw in there, who may or may not make the roster, is Dylan, Soner? He's a undrafted free agent at Iowa State. He's a big body tight end, around 270. He kind of functions, I think, more as a swing tackle or this the tight end 3 in the red zone. So I think he's a guy that I think could make the roster. Just interesting name I really wanted to point out. But yeah, they're not working with a lot of playmakers, man. So this offense, it could be stunning at points. It'll be interesting to see how this offense, how this rolls. This isn't going to be like the prolific offenses they had under Drew Brees, unfortunately. But luckily, they're working with one of the best running backs in the league in Alvin Kamara, and Latavius Murray is a very good backup running back in his own right. Also, they have Ty Montgomery, who's pretty solid too. Kind of as this receiving threat from the running back position. It also helps that they're running behind one of the best offensive lines in football that are bookended by probably the best, tackle duo in football, Terran Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk. Those guys are wonderful. Ryan Ramczyk, you make a case he's the best tackle in all of football. I think you can. But Eric McCoy, you can make a case he's the best center in all of football. I think you really can. We saw that last year. I mean, shoot. This guy does not quit on plays, and he doesn't just block at the second level. He's willing to block 30 yards down the field, man. I don't know if y'all remember. I think it was against the Packers where he was literally just trailing behind Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara, I think he does this little kind of stop move, and Eric McCoy just runs past him, lays out some guy in front of him. It was beautiful. Cesar Ruiz, it'll be interesting to see how he develops. He was playing out of position, essentially. The guy, for the most part at Michigan, played center. Now he moved to guard. There were some struggles. McCoy said he was he was practicing taking snaps at guard. But let's be serious. You're keeping that cat at center. Ruiz, you're gonna have to play better, and I imagine he does. Dreas Pete, I'm not a fan of the contract, but then again, the Saints are wizards of the salary cap, so I guess it doesn't really matter how much they give players. But for the most part, I think he's pretty solid in his own right. And they actually got pretty good depth with Will Clapp, with James Hurst. I was a big fan of Calvin Throckmorton. I think he'd be a solid depth piece as well. They brought in Landon Young there, who's kind of this big-bodied tackle that was more proficient as a run blocker. So it'll be interesting. I think they need to. They got the pieces in place to have a very successful run game. I just think last year they were pretty predictable when it came to the run. With Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. These guys, they could come in and they could catch. They could pass catch. They could receive. They're receiving threats. There we go. That's a better way to put it. But they got pretty predictable, especially with Latavius Murray when he was on the field. 66% of the time on his attempts, he was just going up the middle. You could literally just game plan for that. When he's on the field, if they're running the football, he's basically going to take it up the middle. Even with Alvin Kamara, I think a little under 50 of his percent of his attempts were outside zone blocking, outside zone plays. But he was a guy that they did a lot of different things with. It's more so with Latavius Murray, but I think they'll be much better about that this year. last year just kind of feels like it was just such a weird year for the Saints. It was honestly, it was a weird year for us all. But the Saints offense, yes, it will rely and depend on what happens at quarterback. Because I think their defense is very well put together. Let's just go ahead and talk a little bit about the defense. Under Dennis Allen, I kind of talked about it earlier. Dennis Allen, he runs that base 4-3, but let's be honest, everyone's playing in a sub package nowadays. And he runs a variety of different zone coverages. And I thought the Paulson Adebo pick was money, dude. I think he's going to excel under Allen. I think this is the right scheme to come to. I think we kind of know what to expect with some of the more veteran names on this roster with Demario Davis, Cameron Jordan, even David Onyemata, who was early in his career a developmental guy that I think has really blossomed the last couple of years into a real disruptor on the interior. Shai Tuttle's really, like, you can't even scoff at that guy. That cat, he was very solid in the rotation last year. Even with like Malcolm Jenkins, Marcus Williams, a lot of these guys have been starting on this roster for Malcolm Jenkins, like, you could go back like 7 years ago, he was started on this team. He had a little stint there with the Eagles, but it was just a little one. But yeah, like, a lot of these guys, you know what they're going to bring to the table. It's really kind of the younger names I kind of want to highlight and talk about here. With Paulson Adebo in minicamp, he was working in the slot and the outside. We're going to know a little bit more about that, obviously, with training camp. Minicamps are minicamps. But with Marshawn Lattimore, I believe he suspended the first 2 weeks or the first 2 games of the season. We'll probably see Paulson Adebo start on the outside with Patrick Robinson, a guy that's been on the roster, it feels like forever. But I think we're going to see a lot. They're going to rely a lot on Robinson. I think we're going to see Adebo early, get a lot of snaps, but after that, I think they maybe rely just on the vet. Or he could end up starting. He could blow them away and end up being the starter out there. I know that they want to move Chauncey Gardner-Johnson eventually to as a box safety, but with Malcolm Jenkins there and healthy, I don't think that happens this season. But yeah, maybe Adebo does go to the slot. Like, if they do that, it'll be very interesting what they do. Next, looking at the linebackers, obviously you got Demario Davis. Pete Werner, I really believe, is going to end up being the next guy in line for the most snaps at linebacker. Zach Bond's a very interesting case. Now, this team, they love to blitz, right? Like, especially they'll show like a cover one look and they'll stack the box with like 6 or 7 guys to just basically disguise who they're blitzing and where they're blitzing from. Zach Bond, I think they're going to play him a bit more on third downs this year. And they're going to utilize that pass rushing upside of his. Because keep in mind, back in Wisconsin, he was exclusively an edge rusher for the most part there at Wisconsin. So I think we'll see a bit more of him this year. The other guy, Peyton Turner, I know it felt like he was kind of a reach. He kind of was, but he is also a player I really loved in the draft, more so as a day 2 guy. But he's got the versatility to play all along the defensive line. I think we're going to see a good chunk of him, especially with like a Marcus Davenport goes down, or a Cameron Jordan. He could come in, I think, come in and easily start. But yeah, I think this defense is going to be fairly good. I mean, I think Marcus Williams is one of the most underrated safeties in the league. This guy's easily a top 10 safety. Everyone just thinks Minneapolis Miracle, and if you're doing that, you're doing yourself a disservice. This guy, year in, year out, man, he is a contender for like a top 5 safety in the league. I'm a big fan of Marcus Williams. Interesting that they brought in Bryson Thompson. He's just a guy to watch out for. They got Grant Haley on the squad, but he ain't nothing more than a slot, and he's not even good at that, unfortunately. But Bryson Thompson is a guy to watch out. Maybe another guy that maybe could contest the slot. Yeah, especially if Chauncey Gardner-Johnson ends up moving to the box. Definitely. I definitely could see Bryson Thompson in the slot there. If Adebo ends up starting on the outside. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that'll go on with this defense, but the big question is, how will the offense function and how successful it will be? But let's go ahead and take a look at my projected starters. I do this not based on base defenses, but based on snap count. I only care about who's on the field the most. I don't care about your base defenses. It sounded a little harsh, man. But I really believe they're gonna go with Winston. He just gives them more options in the passing game. Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, those are the superstars on offense. I think Marquez Callaway, we're gonna see a bit more of him just because Traquan Smith I have as the slot. Honestly, we're probably gonna see a variety of different receivers used in this offense. Adam Troutman, I have listed as the starter at tight end, and then Taron Armstead, Ardarius Pete, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, and Ryan Ramczyk. Like I said, that's a banger of an offensive line. And then on defense, Cameron Jordan, Marcus Davenport, David Onyemata, Shai Tuttle, Demario Davis, and then I got the rookie Pete Warner starting at linebacker, Marshawn Lattimore. I put Marcus Robinson here just because he's been on the squad for so long, but Paulson Adebo, I think, will be like hot on his tracks in terms of snaps. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson there in the slot, Marcus Williams, and Malcolm Jenkins there at safety. So, predictions. How will this squad do? They kind of got a tough schedule. I ended up going with 8-9 on my predictions. They opened the year with the Packers, assuming Aaron Rodgers is there. Again, that's kind of like my predictions with the Packers is under the assumption Aaron Rodgers plays there. But they really do have some tough games there. Like, you're playing in it, first off, I think a very competitive division. After the Bucs, obviously. The Bucs, they're easily the best team in the division. But I think the Panthers and the Falcons, they're very competitive teams. They're going to be very competitive with the Saints. And then you have to face teams like the Titans, the Seahawks. Those are playoff caliber team. Well, they are playoff teams. They got to face the NFC East. The Dolphins, Bills, and Patriots, those are all going to be tough squads to face. Yeah, they got the NFC least, but Washington's defense is nothing to joke about. And you're going to be facing, presumably, a healthy Dak Prescott. So, yeah, they actually have one of the harder strength of schedules there at a little over 530. So, 8-3, I think, considering, I feel like that's safe. I think this is a 500 squad. They could blow my projections out of the water. Again, it's just really how you feel about the quarterback position. And if I'm going to project Jameis Winston as the starter, and then I'm going to do it like Jameis Winston. 500. 30 for 30. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love to hear what the fans of these ball clubs think, because again, they follow their team a lot harder than I probably do. So let me know if I got anything wrong, or let's just have a nice little football discourse in the comment section. I always love talking to you guys. But let's go to the full webcam this time. That's it for the video. Go ahead and do that YouTube theme. It's always much appreciated, much obliged. And until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.